see to work. Get more done. Unlock more time. More money. And more freedom.
Join us as we explore the challenges and power of making work visible. Welcome to the Visible Workplace Podcast with Dr. Tom Rolley.
Now, let's get into today's episode. Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of the Visible Workplace Podcast with myself, Dr. Tom Rolley. Excited for today's podcast because we're almost going back in time to a problem that was originally brought to the world in the famous book, The E-Myth. And if you've read that book, you remember that there was an experience where he went to this hotel and everything was done very, very well to a very high standard. He was like, how did this happen? How did this happen? He found out that they were using, you guessed it, checklists. And I actually had a very similar experience. And I want to share that with you and what we can take from it. Because a lot of the problems that I've been focused on solving are because we are now working in the virtual world, in computers, with remote team, with hybrid workplaces where half the team's at home, and the challenges that come from that. But I was presented with a particular experience that I was looking to capture, that I was looking to extract the learnings from. Well, what went down? Well, this is what went down. I'm on my way home we'd been up in Brisbane. I've hit the road early. We've got 2 cars in Brisbane. My wife's following like 2 hours later. And she calls me and says, hey, Tom, we got a problem. I'm like, what's that? The Airbnb guests aren't coming tomorrow. They're coming today. I'm like, great. What's that got to do with me? And she's like, the Airbnb is not ready. You're going to have to do it. And I'm like, what? This isn't in my jurisdiction. This isn't my responsibility. How come this isn't done? What's going on? But in the end, there was no choice. I was the one. There was my son, Sam, 16, and myself. We're on our way home. I'm like, buddy, we got to get this together. But it's been, I don't think we've ever cleaned it. Like, I don't know, it just hasn't been a job. So I was like, okay, what are we going to do? And my wife was able to give me some clues here. She was able to send me a couple of pictures. It's like, this is how it should look in the bedroom at the end. And this is how it should look at the end in the bathroom. And this is how it should look in the kitchen living room. Now, luckily, our Airbnb only has these 3 rooms. So it's not like some monster house with 18 rooms or anything. There's only 3, a bedroom, a bathroom, and a kitchen living. And she gave me, all important, the finished results. I'm like, okay, cool. At least we know what it's got to look like. And I was like, okay, we can work from this. But beyond that, not a lot. It was like, all right, we'll just go from scratch. So what do we do? Well, I'm like, all right, well, let's just start stripping everything. And she'd also told me one critical thing was like, don't use the standard cycle, the default cycle on the washing machine. Use the 30-minute one. I'm like, what? And I went on and I forgot about this. So we're stripping the beds, all the sheets come off, duvet cover comes off, pillowcases come off, go in the bathroom, all the towels, all the washers, all that stuff. We gather all that into the washing machine, totally forget about the 30-minute thing, press play, and walked away. I come back. Now, this is skipping ahead a little bit. I come back like an hour later, and it's got 2 hours and 15 minutes to go. I'm like, oh, that's a problem. That's why she told me do the 30 minutes. So I canceled that cycle, reset it with some more washing powder, liquid stuff, pressed on the 30 and press play. I'm like, okay, cool. Now we can get through it and quickly. But beyond that, we didn't have much else. So we're working the bedroom, stripped away. I'm like, what do we need to do next? Okay, let's look for cobwebs. Let's clean the glass. Let's sweep the floor, vacuum the floor, mop the floor. We didn't mop the floor yet. We just cleaned it all. We made the bed. Okay, that one's looking pretty good. Come into the bathroom, clean the toilet, clean the shower, clean the mirror, clean the sink. What else did we do? Okay, I think that was about it. Everything out of that. Refresh the toilet paper, empty the bins, and that one's looking pretty good. And then we come into the kitchen and again go through, wipe down the tables, wipe down the other tables, vacuum the couch chairs, wash down the bench, make sure all the dishes are done. And then I found a little trap, which was opening the cupboard. There's a recycling bin. I was like, whoa, there's recycling stuff in here. Well, that's easy to miss. Okay, got the recycling stuff, emptied everything, the bins, take them outside. Okay, everything's starting to look pretty good. We're doing well. Do we doing? Okay, well, what do we do now? Okay, we've got to set the bathroom up, put the towels in. We'd also taken the clothes once the washing machine finished, got the first load onto the line, and then the next load in, and that got on the line as well. And then we're like, okay, what are we doing? What do we got? What else? What do I do? Okay, let's mop. Everything's looking pretty good. Mop the whole thing. Outside, the barbecue needed to be cleaned. Forgot about that. Okay, barbecue got done. And I'm like, whoo, baby. It was about 2 hours of work or so. And it was great. It looked great. I looked at the pictures. I looked at what we had done, and it was very similar. I'm like, okay, we've replicated the final results. But here is what I want you to catch. Having done all this, and remember that having been in this systems and process stuff for a while, I think highly systematically. But what about the next person? What about the cleaner? What about if the cleaner leaves the area and they don't know what to do? What do we do? And I was like, you know what I need to do is capture these steps. And one of the interesting things is I went to a magic board and I wrote down what we needed. We needed the bedroom done, we needed the bathroom done, and we needed the kitchen living room done, and the outside done. And then going through all the steps. Originally, it looked very similar, but there were little details about the order of how things were done. What should we do first? Strip the beds first, strip the bathroom first, get that into the laundry. And this all might be very intuitive to a cleaner that cleans Airbnbs all the time, but we did not have that choice. And there were still traps, still things that were easily forgotten. Did the bin in the bathroom get emptied? Did the bin in the recycling get emptied? Did the outside bins get taken up to the top? And I'm writing all of these things down as soon as I could. It was actually a day. I was like, damn it, I know that I want to try and capture as much as I could. And the longer that I left that gap from getting it out of my memory and into the documentation, the more things I would forget. But I got them all down. I'm like pretty happy with it. But now I have a virtual document, which works great when we're working virtually, like in a standard workplace for a lot of people. But we're dealing with real world things here, a real building, a real house with a real bed and a real shower and a real toilet. This is all real. I'm like, okay, cool. We need to not require someone to log in to a computer to see these instructions. So we've got to extract them out from the computer and put them into the real world. And this was actually pretty easy. It's like, okay, copy all the steps, put them in a Google Doc, add a tick box. Even if the tick box doesn't get used, it was still a nice idea for me to be able to go through, yes, done, yes, done, yes, done, yes, done, yes, done. And if I wanted to, I could get a whiteboard marker and tick them off. Tick, 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 tick. Either of those would work. But the idea being here that if I'm working in a real world, then I want to have a real world checklist. And so printing out that Google Doc and then laminating it means that I then have a real world SOP with the results that I'm wanting. Hadn't thought about this, but I probably should print out those final pictures. Make sure it looks like this. And that would be really cool. It's like, okay, yep, I know what I'm looking for. Is it done? Are the pillows right? Are the duvet right? Is everything done? Yes, 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 yes. And so this ability, even though we went from real world to create it and then into the virtual to document and then back into the virtual, then this gives me what I really want, which is a set of documentation that a person who hasn't done this work before either because they're called in at the last minute or because it's their first time doing it, has the steps that are required to complete this work. Now, the good thing about real world is that it doesn't change that much unless we change the colors of the sheets or we change the design of the layout of the kitchen, or we do some major renovations to the whole thing. It's going to stay largely the same, which is a major advantage to this. It means we don't have to be updating these all the time. But when we're working in the virtual world, well, this happens much more frequently. Things change. So if you want some help with this, then head over and check out www.magicboards.io, and that will give you the platform that enables you to build checklists and SOPs, both for the real world, in case you're running an Airbnb, or for much more commonly your business that's operating on computers with remote team, with hybrid workforce. This is what you need. All right, thanks for joining me. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The Visible Workplace. See you then.
Thanks for tuning into the Visible Workplace podcast. Subscribe for more productivity tips and share with friends. We love your feedback, so please rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. For more tips and tools, visit www.magicboards.io. Thanks again, and see you next episode. Disclaimer: the information and ideas discussed in this episode are general in nature and do not take into account your specific circumstances. You should seek specialist advice for any medical, financial, emotional, mental, or other difficulties that you are facing with appropriate specialists and professionals so that they can apply your specific circumstances and give you the required advice.